Hey everybody, welcome to the 172nd episode of the Intellectual Podcast. I'm your host, David Dawson, and I'm coming to you today from rainy Indiana. Towards the end of the long eastern seaboard journey that I've been on. I made a stop here in Indiana, visit with family before I make my way to Chicago to finish off this tour that I'm doing. And looking forward to getting back home soon and getting started on a number of really big projects, hopefully high-profile projects for intellectual entertainment. And we'll be making some announcements on those projects in the coming weeks. I want to say congratulations to Whitney Wegman and her now husband John for getting married this past weekend. And I hope you guys are having a good time on your honeymoon. Maybe a road trip. Seeing the sights southwest, and it's been good. We've had just a wildly packed couple of weeks here on the East Coast, eastern half of the United States, and we're going to keep bringing you episodes from this journey. We continue that today with jazz musician Gracie Terzian. This was fun, man. New York City. Visiting New York, it was just one creative person after another. And I had the opportunity to sit and chat with a bunch of different people. And Gracie, she was just amazing, man. She's so soft and easy. And then she sang for us and played her ukulele harp. And I was just blown away. It was a fun conversation. I love talking to other creative people from all walks of life, whether it's music or painting or writing or anything, just to hear where inspiration comes from and hear the different backgrounds of all these people who, through their own life experiences, find their ways to creation. It's just really cool. And New York was a lot of fun getting to meet a bunch of different creative people. And Gracie was at the tail end of the one day that Whitney joined me in New York. And we actually started this interview at midnight. So this was a middle of the night podcast in, the city that never sleeps, in New York City. And it was a lot of fun. And my friend Melanie Glancy was there as well. I don't think she actually said anything during the podcast, but she was in the peanut gallery enjoying the show. So thank you to Melanie for showing me the sights in New York. Thank you to Whitney for coming to New York in the midst of prepping for her wedding and setting up a number of different interviews that we did, including some pretty big ones that'll be part of our announcements coming up in the next couple of weeks. And just what a great time. But I am looking forward to coming home soon. So, but in the meantime, enjoy the beautiful sounds of Gracie Terzian on the 172nd episode of the Intellectual Podcast.
Talk hard and enjoy the mindgasm. The Intellectual Podcast starts now.
Now, this is the question of the day. What are the origins of that name?
It is Armenian.
Oh.
Yeah.
That is the question of the day.
It is.
Weird.
Actually, you are not the first Armenian that I have, been friends with.
Really?
There's a gal from my undergrad, and you guys kind of look alike. She had really red hair and fair skin. And
well, that's not common for Armenians, but maybe she's only part Armenian like me.
She was only part.
Yeah, those redheaded Armenians.
Wow. I'm in a room full of redheads.
Oh, we are.
Yes, you are.
That's crazy.
You don't fit in.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that I just love redheads, so it's all good.
Good.
That was good. So why don't you lead this one?
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Give me the lead.
This is what, your fourth interview? Let's let you take the wheel.
All right. Well,
she's also half asleep, so
Yes.
it's gonna be fun.
Yeah,
terribly unfair.
cool.
To get started, I guess tell us a little bit about your music career since you've come here to New York.
Well, let's see. I released an EP about a year ago called Saints and Poets, and that was really when I started doing music full-time after that. So it's been about the past year that it's been full-time. Before that, it was just part-time on the side thing. And I was doing a lot of acting at that time as well. And since then, I haven't had much time to do acting because I've just been doing so much music. But yeah, it was really the release of that album that kind of kicked things off.
So did you produce that EP or?
There was a producer on it, like music producer who produced it, named Mike Tynan, but I produced it financially in the sense that I released it independently, so I didn't have a record label supporting it or anything of that nature.
And then how did you release that out to the public? Like what?
Oh, I just I used CD Baby and disc makers and put it out myself, which is I have mixed feelings about. In general, just some bumps in the road with CD Baby trying to get, basic functions them to come through with. But so yeah, it's possible to release things through CD Baby, but they tend to not want like for instance, I really wanted to be able to know how many pre-orders were coming in of the album the month before it was released, and they couldn't give me that information. And I was like, this is very simple information to give me. Anyone who's releasing music through a record label can easily find this data in real time. Right. iTunes will tell you and is telling the labels how many pre-orders have been placed at any given time. And I was like, I know they have this data. They just have to give it to me. And they spent the whole month telling me they couldn't do it. And then finally, I insisted on going to the upper management. All right, so do you have a manager I can get this data for me because it's it's really important. So you can kind of gauge how well your marketing is going, and if you need to push harder because it's important to push during that month before the release. So,
right.
And then finally the woman said, I remember I was on the phone with her and she's like, I've never heard of that in my entire life, like wanting to count the pre-orders. I was like, what are you talking about? And then she emailed me 2 days later and she's like, oh, we do have that data. Here you go. And here's how many pre-orders have been placed. And it was 2 days before the album came out. I was like, great. This would have been nice to know a month ago. So little things like that. But I mean, it's it's a service. I think there might be better ones out there than CDB. That's all I'm saying.
It's that difficult thing where you're producing something yourself. So you don't necessarily have all the tools.
Right, and I was learning also on the road, too. As I said, there might be another... Actually, I'm sure there are other ways to independently release music, not through CD Baby, that are probably a little more geared for people who are trying to do it in a more professional way or in a way that... Like I remember they said, why do you care about how many album sales are coming in? Only if you're charting that matters. And I was like, okay, don't be rude, first off. You asshole. God, snarky, CD Baby customer help. And then it did chart. It was number 3 on iTunes Jazz chart. And then it also was on the Billboard chart as well at number 23. So I was like, okay, see, I did care. And it was charting. So don't be rude.
That's
CD Baby.
You're doing all your own marketing for that.
Yeah.
How have you been marketing it?
Well, it was very friends sharing, to other friends, kind of like that kind of thing. I mean, I didn't really do much marketing except just spreading the word really hardcore, telling anyone I knew.
So social media.
I'm sure I sent you a message about it, Whitney.
I know that.
I sent everyone I knew a message.
That's how I knew to come and do an interview with you.
Right. Yeah. So it was just brute force.
Social media. Do you have a website?
I do. Yeah. It's just my name, GracieTerzian.com.
Right.
So you said up until about a year ago, you were acting and doing music part-time.
Correct.
What motivated the switch to doing your music full-time? How did you come to decide to do an EP and do this release and kind of shift gears to making that your focus? I don't know. I mean, I didn't... well, I guess I think sometimes to do things properly and effectively, you have to really do them 100%. In the sense that, acting is very time consuming mentally and creatively. And, you're thinking about your audition
all week, you know. It's like, and yeah, it takes a lot of time and energy. And same thing for music, especially when you're figuring things out. Like, so, you know, I'm still learning a lot of things as I go. So it's like very mentally time consuming. And, you know, it's like as a musician, you're also like your own producer and director and like band leader and, you know, arranger and writer. And it's like all the things of a theater production, but you're doing all of them. So in some ways it's nice and awesome because it's like you have control over all that, but then in other ways it's also like stressful because you're having to wear so many hats, marketing it yourself, doing, you know, so yeah, so I mean it was kind of, I knew that when I released it I wanted to just take some time off and like not be in a show and stuff, so I made sure the first few months I didn't have any big shows going on or anything. But then after that I didn't really choose not to make a full switch. I guess I didn't know what would happen when I released it. So it was like, well, it was just something I wanted to do, but I didn't know if people would actually like it or listen to it. I mean, really. So it was
and suddenly you found yourself on some charts.
Yeah. And then I was like, oh man, I have to like make use of this opportunity and kind of keep figuring things out and keep, you know, try to move forward with this. Cause it's like, oh, this is a great opportunity to use. So,
there's a certain momentum that just kind of
you have to kind of
going, and
when things like suddenly
hop
like
on.
when things click in a certain way, you have to like kind of ride the wave and keep going with it. That's what you have to do that really any chance you get. So
now what sort of things started coming about once you hit these charts?
That's a good question. I don't know.
The story.
I don't know. I mean, nothing like crazy. I mean, there's nothing.
Did you find it was easier
like
to
a
book
total
gigs? And
yeah, definitely. I mean, it definitely made it easier to book gigs. And so when I first released it, I didn't have a publicist because I was like, why do I need a publicist? And they're expensive too. So I was like, you know, this is like, I was like, I'll try to do it myself. You know, like just email people, see if they want to review my album and stuff. It was like the worst idea ever. Like no responses, like none. It's like, wow. Oh my gosh. And so, but then after it charted, I was like, oh man, okay, I should hire a publicist to like get that story out there, or like to keep the ball rolling a bit. So I did hire a publicist for a few months to pitch the story to more people and to try to get some album reviews. You don't want to show up on
the charts and not have
any album reviews, like zero album reviews. I mean, I had no album reviews.
You want to take advantage of that.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, okay, I'll spend like like $3,000, whatever it costs to do this. So I did. And, I mean, it's, I guess it's like, it was just something to say. And as far as like when you're trying to book a show or, you know, and certainly people do find their music on iTunes and stuff. So when they see your album on like because it was charting on iTunes, it was people who were looking for jazz. It was like pushed to the top. And then there was like iTunes like chose to make a brick out of it, which is like those kind of advertisement things. But it was like I didn't pay for the advertisement. It's just based on what's doing well.
That's great.
So actually more people discover it that way and stuff. And I know a lot of people still look for music on iTunes. So it kind of opened the door for more people to listen to my music.
Curve when it comes to iTunes once you hit a certain point.
Exactly.
And they start taking the ball for you.
Exactly.
It just kind of ramps up on its own. Takes its own life.
Totally.
And from what I've seen of the reviews, you had very positive reviews. So
yeah.
You definitely have a following.
Well, you know what's funny is that jazz reviews are always positive. It's something I think is really funny. There's like not many negative jazz reviews. It's the weird thing about jazz music. I mean, no, it's not. It's like if a reviewer doesn't like your music, they just don't review it. They don't write a bad review though. But like in pop music and rock music, critics can be mean and ripping albums apart and stuff. I kind of wish they did that with jazz.
It's a different culture.
Well, it's like I think it's because it's almost like a classical art form at this point. So they like feel bad almost ripping apart poor jazz musicians. I don't know, or it's like it's not mainstream enough. Like it's okay to rip down a pop artist because it's like
they're doing well,
or they're about to make it, or they have the potential to make $1 bajillion. But I mean, even the most successful jazz musicians, a lot of them aren't. They're making like a doctor's salary, and these are like really famous jazz musicians and stuff. Of course, there's a few exceptions, but I mean, it's not on the same scale as like Ray Sremmurd and Nicki Minaj or anything of that nature.
Right.
So, you know my hypothesis?
What?
Jazz is just so chill. You can't give a bad review. You're just so relaxed.
But what about the hot jazz? No,
no jazz. I was living in LA. That was the only thing that kept me from absolute road rage, was turning on the jazz station.
Jazz?
I'm like,
Ah,
this city's
nice.
beautiful again.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, jazz is beautiful. But yeah, it's just, I mean, it's just a funny random little thing, observation I've noticed. I was like, there's not really any bad jazz reviews. I mean, there are a few sometimes. But it's rare. It's nothing. But I think it would be kind of fun to get a really bad review by a jazz critic. I don't know. I mean, I know it's I don't know if it has quite the same effect as when a theater production gets a bad review, because it's a lot less of an investment to check. Even when an album I've been anticipating gets a bad review, I can still quickly go on Spotify and check it out to decide for myself if I like it. But, if a theater show gets a bad review, it can really wreck ticket sales, because people are like, oh, I'm not going to go all the way to the theater to watch that. You know what I mean? It can really destroy the show.
The price of commitment.
Yeah, the price of commitment to check an album out is less than
huge.
watching a movie as well. I mean, it's like, it's nothing. So, I don't know. I guess it depends who gave it a bad review. Whatever. I don't know. It's just kind of funny. So anyway, yeah, they were all good. But as I said, I don't really read many jazz reviews that aren't good. So
Now, the mention of the difference, the first thing I ever saw you in was Evita.
Oh, okay.
And, I mean, you killed it.
Oh,
so
thank you.
obviously you've had musical talent way back when. When did you start doing music?
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, I was doing musical theater stuff and acting for a long time. So I was singing for a while, but it wasn't until college really that I started doing music performances and more not theater music. So I was singing with the jazz band at UVA, like the small jazz chamber ensembles, and also the jazz big band as well sometimes.
So you moved into jazz fairly quickly?
Yeah, I did.
Did you ever want to play anything else? Or?
Yeah, I just liked, I mean, I've always liked jazz. I've been listening to jazz my whole life, really. So, and I've been singing jazz very in the shower kind of vibe my whole life. But it was like I started actually playing with musicians and stuff in college through the UVA jazz program, really. And in college, you don't have many opportunities through your classes to study anything but really classical or jazz usually. I mean, there's not usually much rock music programs or pop music programs. I mean, it's school. You're studying theory and stuff like that. So, so between jazz and classical, I was like, I wanted to sing with a jazz group rather than be in choir or something like that.
So as like a high schooler or a younger kid, were you in choir, or what? It wasn't until you got to college?
No, I did choir for a year in high school, but I always was doing more theater than choir and singing. So, yeah, I mean, I was really mostly into acting and theater and dance and that kind of stuff my whole life. And, but in college I did really get into it, and I started songwriting as well in college, but it just on the side. So whenever I had free time outside of theater and stuff, I was
all that free time outside of theater.
Yeah, right. I was doing songwriting and that kind of thing. So, yeah, and so I did get serious about it in college, but I was very unsure how to go about doing it, or I was still, I didn't, and I'm still figuring out what kind of music I want to make, to be honest. So, I mean, I love jazz, and I think everything I make will always sound a little jazzy, but not.
Isn't that kind of the beauty of jazz, though? Is that
you can blend it with other genres.
It's experimentation. It's
for sure.
It's elaborating on themes. It's not so structured.
Right. Totally.
So.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, honestly, and I don't honestly think of myself as really a jazz singer even that much, because, I don't listen to. I listen to so many other genres of music, and I do sing other genres of music as well, and so. It's not quite 100% jazz or anything. The EP I put out was a jazz EP, so I marketed it like that. So I was kind of like, okay. I mean, really, it was the first time I was putting out something I produced and recorded even. So it was like my first time recording music I wrote in a recording studio. So that was a huge learning curve as well. I was like, I want to make sure, and I was like, I want to make sure it sounds really good and professional. I don't want it to like sound not good. So I was like, so I'm just going to do it really acoustic, like, upright bass, drums, piano, vocals, and guitar. Like, I know what these instruments sound like in the room, so as long as it's a nicely recorded in a studio with clean microphones and stuff, and I get it mixed properly, then it should be fine. I'm not relying on any kind of producer to add some to make it good or anything like that. I was like, just let's get the bare bones sounding good, basically. So So
that's so much of the nature of like jazz anyway, is that it's raw.
Yeah, totally. So it was like just a simple acoustic recording that sounds nicely recorded. And
Yeah, you didn't want it to sound like it was recorded in like a bathroom.
No, yeah.
You wanted it to be
Exactly.
clean. And
Exactly, just clean and straightforward and solid. And I really thought of it as a demo. I mean, that was really like what it was for. Because it was like, I was like, okay, so if I want to play shows, or if I was like to take the next step forward with music, you kind of need some kind of music. You know, if you're booking a show, you need to send them a link to some recordings of you, and maybe some videos of you playing live as well. But most importantly, some nice recordings of your music, so they can actually listen and be like, oh, what does it sound like? Right. So it was kind of like a essential thing for me to have. So as I said, it was very experimental for me. So I've been learning every step of the way.
So did you hire a drummer and a bassist, or do you play all those things?
Oh, definitely not. No. I definitely hired them. Yeah. And I recorded it in Richmond, Virginia, actually. So, and all the musicians are based in Richmond as well. So they're great musicians. So much, much better than I am at any of those instruments. So, yeah.
What is the uke is your primary instrument, correct?
Yeah, ukulele. I play harp ukulele on the album, which is a tenor ukulele with 4 bass harp strings attached to it. It has an additional arm. So it's like a 2-armed ukulele.
I had no idea.
So it has 8 strings. Yeah. Yeah. It has a cool sound to it.
there, just so people listening know, there is in fact one sitting here.
There is.
It's a very interesting looking instrument.
Yes, it is interesting looking. It definitely catches people's eye when
it looks like a ukulele grew a banana.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. I've never heard that before. That's a first. I've heard medieval torture device. I like medieval torture device. Yeah, it's good.
And when did you start playing? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just having some water. When did I start playing harp ukulele? In college as well. So, I don't know. I forget which year. I don't know. I've been playing it for maybe like 4 years now.
Wow.
Something like that.
And did you play other instruments before that? Or
I studied piano growing up. I don't consider myself a pianist per se, but I do play, just casually.
Well, it's interesting. Billy Joel, when he was on Inside the Actors Studio, he was talking about his music, and he came to a point where he's talking about how he sings, and the rhythm of how he sings is very much affected by the fact that he's a piano player.
Oh, that's interesting.
And not a string instrument player. And he did a demonstration of trying to do, some Mick Jagger stuff, but doing it based on the piano and banging away, and how it just doesn't work.
Right. Yeah, I mean, string instruments are definitely much more rhythmic.
Do you think that's why you prefer being on the strings as opposed to playing the piano?
No, but I do think that's why I started playing the ukulele, actually. Because I noticed when I first was writing music, it was very, and I mean, all the songs on the EP I wrote on a piano really first. And I think they have a kind of that sense because, I don't know, on a piano you can play so many notes at once and like such like colorful chords. You can kind of just like sink into, like every time you play a new chord, you're like, whoa, like it's like a whole new world. And the songs, I had like a melody and chords and the basic, and I knew where the melody was falling in the rhythm, but I didn't have I didn't know what the beat was behind it really, or what the drums would be doing and the bass would be doing per se behind it. So it was kind of lacking a rhythm per se. So I actually wanted to play something that was more of a rhythmic instrument, actually to bring in that more rhythmic quality into songwriting to see if it would help. And it does, because it adds because piano, you can like really, it's like so fluid, it's so versatile and so fluid, and so you can, I mean, don't get me wrong, if I were a better pianist, I could play more rhythmically and probably ignore that. But I think Billy Joel is right. There is a difference in how it affects, the song of what you're playing. So
what is your process for writing music? It sounds like, do you start with the instrumental part and then do lyrics later, or?
I prefer to do lyrics first, actually, and then put a song on the lyrics. But just because then it's like I know what it's about, and I'm not, because sometimes when I start with this, it goes both ways. Sometimes it's just whatever happens. But when when I start with like the melody and chords first, or sometimes it's like, oh, I just can't figure out what words embody the song. Like I'm like, I'll spend so long writing the lyrics because it's like nothing seems to really fit what's going on musically. I'm like, oh, I should just stay instrumental. The words are just gonna ruin it. They sound stupid on it. You know, like this is a stupid song. Like this whole point is stupid. Like this isn't smart at all. But when I first write the lyrics out and I know what it's about, then I'm like, okay, it's much easier to find music that matches the story or the words than the other way around for me. But you know, oftentimes I'll just write down melody or chords or something that I'm hearing and want to remember, in which case then I do have to put lyrics to it. So there's no, but yeah, I prefer to do lyrics first. It just doesn't always happen that way. But
where do you draw inspiration from whenever you're coming up with your lyrics?
Oh my gosh, everywhere. I mean, it's like everywhere. Either things that I'm thinking about, things that are going on in my life, things that I've read about. Sometimes I'll go see a play and it will make me think about something, or go see a movie and it will make me think about something. I mean, sometimes a whole song can just be inspired based on like a phrase, you know, like a 1-2 words that you like the sound of, you know, or like a sentence that's cool and interesting. And you're like, oh, this has a lot of meaning, and you want to elaborate on it. And then it reminds you of other things, or I don't know. I mean, there's no particular, it's just the world.
Do you have a structure behind how you approach writing your music? Do you have like set times every day that you try to sit down and come up with lyrics?
I should, but I don't.
Or do you just like scribble notes as inspiration comes?
Yeah, it's just every time I think of stuff, I write it down. So it's
you're
like,
not chasing the muse. When the muse hits, you just write.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's easier that way because then it's like I have like long Google Docs and notes on my phone of like lyrics and stuff that I just have been like, when I think of something or I want to write something randomly, it's like, and then I can open it up and just pull things from it if I need to. So it's like much easier to do it that way. Well, you know, it's just.
My problem with like screenwriting is like I'll get an idea while I'm driving.
Right.
I'll be like, oh, that's a brilliant thing. I need to
driving,
remember that.
You always do. It's crazy.
2 hours later, when I'm done driving, I can't remember.
You have to get a voice
thing.
recorder in your car so you can talk to yourself and record
I got
it.
my phone. I need to just start using that.
Same for the shower. You need like a waterproof voice recorder. I always get ideas in the shower.
Yeah, well, if you have an iPhone, you have the little voice recorder app on it.
Yeah,
you just turn that on.
I should
and
start
talk.
using that.
For sure. I do that sometimes. I don't go
I
check
have
those
all
much.
I have all my best ideas when I'm driving.
Yeah, me too. I also think of all the things I need to do, and I'm like, one time I was like, Siri, make a to-do list, and I was like, Siri, add this, and then it created all of them as like a new note, and I was like, I wrote down like 50 things I needed to do on this long drive, and I came back afterwards, I was like, oh my god, they're all saved as separate notes. Like, I was like, this is super annoying to go through now.
Siri, be better at your job.
No, it wasn't Siri's fault, I guess, but yeah, I don't know how to do a voice command. Keep note session open.
Siri add to.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, I didn't try to figure it out too much, but
it's funny. Siri can do a lot of things, but like,
not everything.
Like nobody knows how to utilize all of it.
Oh, you're right. I know. Yeah, I think she can barely do anything really, except yeah. I mean, I never use her for anything.
I like that we do refer to her as her.
As her. Well, it's a female.
I know.
Yeah.
Instead of it, though. You know?
No, she wouldn't like that.
Interesting.
Do you find that you said that you wrote in college? Has the subject matter changed drastically? Like, do you feel you're maturing in your view, or
not really?
No.
I mean, not. It hasn't been that long that I've really changed mentally. I don't know. No, I mean, of course things have happened and I've learned things. I'm sure I'm a little bit of a different person, but no, I mean, the same things still seem to matter.
Well, writing lyrics, do you view yourself more as a poet or as a storyteller?
Both are so pretentious. Hopefully neither. No, I'm just kidding. No. I guess poet. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But both. I mean, no, they're both. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I tend to not write songs that are like long stories. You know, so there's certain songs that really are like long, drawn out stories, but there's certainly a story behind most of them, if that makes sense. But I try to tell it in a more poetic way, I guess. But they're pretty straightforward. I mean, I also like to write things that are like actual dialogue too. Like not. You have to kind of ride a fine line of being, since it is conversational, or being relatable, but then also poetic, and it's like how to be subtle enough, and it's a fine line, and that's what I spend a long time editing and tweaking and trying to figure out.
Yeah, I tried sitting down and writing lyrics once upon a time, and it was either too dry.
Yeah, it's like too straightforward.
Or I tried to be a poet, and then it was just too
ridiculous. Right? Or like over the top.
That was Melanie's phone making noise. my dear friend Melanie sitting in the peanut gallery.
She's like, "Oh no, my phone."
It's okay.
It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah. She's all embarrassed. It's good, Melanie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I tried writing lyrics for a while. And then I just finally went, it's not my bag.
Yeah, no, I totally know what you mean, though. I mean, a lot of times I'll start with things that are very straightforward, like just pure, like conversation flow, or like exactly what I would say, and it's very matter of fact and not poetic at all. But it's just the bare bones of like the idea of what I want to say, like to someone, talking to someone. It's like really not poetic at all. It's like pretty ugly and straightforward and not subtle. It'd be like if you're having an emotional conversation with someone, what you would say. It's like not exactly like beautiful words per se, just very to the point. And then I'll take that and break it down and try to figure out ways to say it in a more interesting way and more,
maybe more succinct and a little more elegant.
Yeah, elegant. Make it rhyme first off. Make it actually beautiful and not ugly. But then it still has like an actual emotion behind it, an actual like point of view behind it. So it's relatable. It's not just like colorful words or anything, but it's like, it actually has like, it's something you're actually saying. So yeah, I guess it tends to be like real conversation. And actually I find plays to be a very nice source of lyrical inspiration because they're all dialogue. So I like to listen to dialogue when it comes to writing lyrics, because ultimately you're speaking when you're singing, or you're saying something when you're singing. So it's like, who are you talking to, and what are you saying? And in plays, there's like, I mean, especially Shakespeare, and it's like, there's so many plays to draw, but plays have a very nice, they do very smartly. A lot of good playwrights they're saying real things, but they're saying it in a beautiful and interesting way. So that's kind of
there's
exactly,
a rhythm to
right.
Dialogue.
And that's exactly what I'm aiming for. It's like, okay, I want to actually be saying something real and interesting and have a strange situation going on. I mean, whatever it is, but saying it in a really beautiful, interesting way that's maybe not how you'd actually say it in real life per se, or maybe it is. I don't know.
I think it's great that you brought up the plays, because as you were speaking about your process, I'm like, oh, well, it's the reverse from plays. Plays, you have the words and you give it the intention. For you have the intention and you find the words for it.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's sometimes I'll just crack open a play and start reading it, seeing what the people are saying, and be like, oh, these are good. This is a good, ways to say that, or good ways to say this, and yeah.
Do you find as a singer your acting background helps?
For performing, yes. I mean, I think acting helps everything, probably a little bit. I don't know. I mean, they're very different. They're really different. But I mean, certainly being comfortable in front of an audience is helpful. But right. I mean, the first few times I was doing music performances, I was quite nervous because it was a totally different thing. I mean, it's just completely different. It's different because you're like yourself on stage as opposed to a character acting in a play. And I was always particularly awkward in auditions when directors would say, "So Gracie, tell us about yourself. Like, be you for a bit." And I was like, "What the hell do you want me to say as myself?" I'm so awkward as myself. Like, oh no, this is very hard, and I would get really stiff and not. I wasn't very like free as myself. I was like, this is weird. But if it's like, if you're playing a character, you're like, and you have lines as well, you can just go 100% in there. It's very, I think it's very freeing to do that. So as a music performer, you're, I don't have a character or persona that I am on stage. In my mind, I'm myself.
It's purely vulnerable. It's you, and those are your lyrics.
Yeah, and also like whatever you're saying to the audience is like me talking to the audience. So, it's a
very raw truth to it.
Yeah, and it's very different from being in a play. So it's like, it's
in a play you're interpreting somebody else's idea of a character, of a situation, of an environment that they're in. But
for sure.
When you're singing, especially singing your own lyrics, you are just kind of, here I am.
Right. Yeah, totally.
Love me or hate me, this is what I'm putting out there into the world. Right?
Yeah, for sure. No, totally. Yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing that's like helpful is, being used to being in front of an audience is very helpful. And then also knowing how to actually think about the words you're saying while you're singing them and, sort of act in the song. So, and I don't know if that's necessarily because of acting, because I had a jazz vocal instructor at UVA named Stephanie Nikasian, who's amazing. She's an amazing jazz singer and great teacher. And I remember she told me, like, as a singer, the one thing you have over other musicians, because as a singer, you're in a band with all these musicians. It's like, you're trying to prove yourself and that you're a musician as well, and, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, the one thing you have over them is you have lyrics and words, and this is huge. And if you don't use that as to your advantage, and, it's game over. Why listen to a singer who's not like there's probably a musician who can improvise better than you, or whatever you want it to be, but it's very important to make sure that you're actually meaning the lyrics you say, or that you're thinking about them while you're saying them, and that you're actually phrasing them in a way that's makes sense and is and feels right, if that makes sense.
Yeah. If it's genuine, I think an audience recognizes that.
Yeah, totally.
If it's forced, I think they recognize that too.
I mean, you can see that in a lot of the musicians who become popular. Some of them don't have the best technique, but if they have heart and it's, talking to people's souls, that's what people love.
Totally. Mm-hmm. And even sometimes you don't even understand the lyrics that a singer is saying, but they're saying it with some kind of intention and some kind of emotion behind it. And you feel it. It's not like you can't. I mean, it's a very important element, I think, to having impact as a singer in what you're doing. Like, it just, I hear some singers and I think they have a really nice voice and they're doing things well technically, but they're not quite, I don't quite believe the words they're saying, or they're not quite, it's like they're not quite thinking about them, and they're not quite interpreting the lyrics or making the lyrics shine. And I'm not that doesn't mean enunciating them either. It's just like making them special, the words.
Well, there's connecting with it.
Yeah, connecting with the words.
Yeah.
And not just
when you connect, it just comes across differently.
Totally. And it's like,
you can hit the notes, you can hit the rhythm, but if the emotion's not there.
Yeah, if you're not connected to it.
You can tell.
Mm-hmm. And you don't have to be like, sobbing or super dramatic. It can be very subtle connection as well, and you still feel it,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's an interesting thing. So I guess acting, in musical theater, it's like you're acting through song quite dramatically, which is always very fun because it's like a little freer than speech. So you can really it's like almost dramatic, heightened acting when you're acting through song. So I've always enjoyed that part of musical theater. But yeah, so it helps for sure.
Since you've started performing more here in New York, have you had any experiences where you found that you have that audience connection, you have them, and what was that feedback like, that experience?
Yeah. Audiences are really different. So, depending on their age and what country you're in. So many things make up the difference of an audience is. Yeah, sometimes there's audiences that are really small but they're really enthusiastic, and that's fun, or cool. Sometimes you have rather large audience, and they're rather subdued as well. You know, as you know from being in a play, it's like it takes a few people to start laughing, and suddenly the whole audience starts laughing and gets in it. It's like
somebody has to give them permission.
Audience chemistry is very peculiar. So, but you know, of course, the shows where the audience seems really engaged is more fun. And I've always loved like people saying things to the audience or like heckling me or talking and stuff. Some people get really annoyed when people like talk at them while they're on stage and stuff. There certainly have been annoying people who like try to make song requests in a concert that's like obviously not a song request type of concert, or but I've always enjoyed that because it's like, oh great, someone is interacting with me. It's like something funny to witness or to respond to, or whatever it is, but it's nice to interact with the audience as much as you can, I think. So yeah, is the more they're engaged the better. But I'm a big believer in like when it's, even if you're have an audience that's either small, like there's not many people there, or it's quiet audience, anything like that you have to do just the same show for them as that you would to a really engaged audience. And you actually have to try harder for them because your energy will probably be a little lower because of that. So you actually have to try to give them the best show you've ever given, and then it'll probably be equal, And you never know who's in your audience. And I mean, just because it's a quiet audience doesn't mean they're not appreciative or enjoying it as well. It completely depends on the venue, but it does affect the music. I mean, when you get a sense of what kind of vibe people are listening to, and music, it's like the venues change so much too. That's the other crazy thing. I mean, it's not like I'm at a place in my career where I'm like, I only play in venues that have these qualities and look like, have this many seats and have this going on and have this light show going on. It's like, they're really different from one. Like sometimes it's like a noisy bar that I'm playing in, and sometimes it's like a really quiet, slick jazz club.
And they
it's
don't necessarily have a sound tech.
Yeah, I mean,
the guy behind the bar maybe just kind of knows how to turn the board on. Yeah,
it can be anything. So it's like the difference in audiences can be like huge, So yeah, it's like, but yeah, it does affect what you're doing and the musicians as well. So as I said, it's like you have to continue to try even when it's like maybe feeling weird or like, this is not.
Have you had any like crazy wild experiences while performing here in New York? Any zinger stories?
Man, I wish. That would be great if I did have a zinger story, but I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to think what, like, I'm sure there've been.
She's not a punk rocker.
That's what you think.
Jazz.
No, I'm just kidding.
Jazz audiences might be rowdy. You don't know.
Totally.
They don't give bad reviews.
Yeah, They're not going to get
rowdy.
Genre doesn't get bad reviews? I'm like offended that jazz doesn't get bad reviews. I'm like, what? No one. Yeah, this is like insulting. It's like probably classical music doesn't get bad reviews either. It's like, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I just picture people hopping on like John Williams is a hack.
Yeah, there are a few reviews like that. I mean, because when I've brought this up to other jazz musicians, they're like, "No, I read a bad review once here," like, and they'll pull it up, and it is a bad review of someone, like, and it's like, but they're just very
it's so
rare.
specific they can actually even find it and pull it up for you.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like Pitchfork where like half of them are like slamming them, So, yeah, I don't know if I have. I'm trying to. I mean, I'm sure there are. I'm just like, this is like when someone asks you a question and you just suddenly.
Okay, maybe non-musical related zinger stories, just living in New York craziness.
Oh my God.
Yeah, where are you from originally?
I'm from Northern Virginia, outside DC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like small area?
It's the suburbs, textbook suburbs. Yeah.
So not bad.
No, it's fine.
So the jump to New York wasn't too dramatic.
No, I mean it's certainly different. But
so you're like the first non-farm person today.
Really? You had only farm people?
No. Two of the people we interviewed, one was from Kansas, one was from Missouri.
That's cool. They probably milk cows and stuff. That's a life goal. To milk a cow. I hope someday.
I've milked a cow
you
before.
Have? Is it fun? She's like...
If you're doing it by hand, it's really hard work and your wrist gets sore.
Oh.
And if you have one of those little milker things, then they just...
She's like, she knows all about it.
And
she's like, I got a long list of complaints about milking. How many times have you milked a cow?
Only a couple times.
A couple? That's awesome. Man.
And a goat.
I'm jealous.
I got to milk a goat.
Where?
I lived in Missouri.
Oh.
She's a farm girl
Everyone
herself.
in Missouri milks cows. Oh, is that how it is? No. It's like
Yes, that's how it
they
is.
have one outside of the hospital for like babies after they give birth. They've just been born. They go
For tired moms.
No,
Yeah, tired moms.
I had a horse growing up, and we boarded her at my friend's farm.
Did you milk the horse?
Yeah,
No,
she tried.
No. We boarded my horse at my friend's farm, and when I stayed over, we got up. That was part of her job. She had to get up in the morning and milk the goats, and I went and helped.
Wow, I would totally help. Yeah.
And the cow milking thing. There is a place called Purina Farms, and it is owned by the people who make the dog food, and it is an actual working farm, and you can go, and they do school trips, and you get to milk the cow by hand, and then you get to check out how the milker works and stick your finger in.
That's awesome.
I wish people could see your face right now.
Wow, that's so cool. Okay, all right. Soon, I'll go to Missouri. That's where it's at.
All right.
That's where
She's going to write a song
that's
about
where the
milking
cow
cows
hang
and-
is.
and goats.
Okay. I'm gonna hang some cows. Okay, cool. Yeah. No, anyway, yeah, New York was not so different from Northern Virginia. Not many cows in either place, but I mean, definitely a big city compared to suburban lifestyle.
Right.
So, yeah, it was not the. I'm always been a city person, so it was like I was very excited to have 24-hour food everywhere, and
Yeah, that is
conveniences.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, and
Like I live in San Diego, but San Diego rolls up and shuts down around 11.
yeah, this is something that's like just super nice about New York. It's like, there's a lot of not nice things about New York, but the 24-hour food of any kind, it's like any ethnicity of food you want, you can probably order it at any hour of the night, which is nice. So it's definitely
Yeah,
a luxury.
It is pretty to look at the city, like from across the river, like.
Yeah, when you're on like a rooftop, maybe.
Yeah.
And the
yeah.
sidewalks and trash day, which
Wow.
seems to be every day. Really, I think trash day is every day in New York. It's like
12 million people. It's a lot of trash.
it's like, and
I always just kind of wonder where it goes.
it goes to, I'll tell you, there's a sanitation plant not too far away from here in Brooklyn that you definitely smell it a mile away.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, yeah, and there's a few sanitation plants. It stinks so bad. My GPS always takes me through this road, so when I'm driving, I'm like,
So Siri really does hate you.
she does. She does. She's like, let's drive through the sanitation plants again.
It's because you make her do work.
It's like you make me write 50 notes.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's some trash.
Yeah. No, Brooklyn really is smelly. I mean, a lot of New York is smelly, but I've just been noticing in particular recently. I was in Gowanus the other day. It was awful. I mean, it just smelled so bad. It was like, it just was trash and feces smell everywhere. I mean, like for blocks and blocks and blocks. I was like, oh.
Well, and I heard there was a bit of a heat wave a couple weeks ago, so I'm sure that contributes to...
I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, it's just like there's trash piles like taller than me all over the sidewalk, like between the sidewalk and the road at the end of the day. It's like if you're walking around at nighttime in New York, it just like smells like trash. And it's like, I don't know. It's just like it's stinky. She's like, yeah, it smells so bad.
The scent of the city.
Yeah.
Well, Melanie's only been here about, a year and a half?
Okay, you're in Brooklyn? Where in Brooklyn? In Williamsburg. Okay. Williamsburg, maybe that's not as smelly. Or it is.
It can get kind of stinky.
Yeah. Brooklyn has it's like extra stinky. Yeah. Anyway, it's all.
I don't know.
I mean, Manhattan smells bad, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially around like 32nd Street, like the 30s. Like, oh.
Yeah, I was coming up out of the
Awful.
subway and it's like,
The 30s
I
are like-
smell like I'm in a toilet at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was really happy to get out of the subway.
But yeah, the rooftops are pretty. I mean, New York is definitely pretty. And it's
Have you
industrial.
gotten a chance to sightsee? Because that's one thing I find when you move to a new place, you get so overwhelmed with everything that you're doing that you don't get to appreciate all that your city has to offer.
Right, yeah.
Did you ever get a chance to do that when either as a visitor or once you first moved here?
Well, I did go to New York growing up, you know, because DC is not too far from New York. It's a 3.5-hour train ride. So growing up, I took trips to New York as a tourist and did lots of sightseeing things. So I have lots of videos of me in high school, like in Times Square, like, wow. Like, it's pretty funny to look back on, actually. I'm like, so many like photos of me with like NYPD cop or, you know, like just like super touristy high school field trip type activities, you know. So
you should totally like do a collage of those for an album cover someday.
Yeah, they're pretty funny, actually. It's like, and I have some funny videos too. I'm like, wow. But so I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think when I got up here, it was very busy. You know, people. It's like, yeah, you move somewhere to work, and so you're like, yeah. So yeah, I guess I haven't done too much sightseeing since I've been here, but I should.
You might find some new inspirations.
Yeah. Like, write a song called Empire State of Mind or something.
My roommate.
Write some Billy Joel songs, probably.
It worked for him, man. He made a whole career out of it.
My roommate, who's lived in San Diego like 5 years now, recently made it a point that once a month she's going to go visit a site, a tourist attraction in San Diego, so she can appreciate her city, because she's been there 5 years and not really ever seen staple like things that are San Diego.
Yeah, that's fair. I can understand that. Yeah, that makes sense. Maybe after I've been here for like 5 years, I'll do that. You know, I still am like, I don't know if there's time, but soon.
Too many irons in the fire.
I don't even know where I'd go. I mean, I guess I haven't been up in the Empire State Building. What else? It's just the lines are so long. It's like, I don't want to. I guess it's like signing up to wait in a line. I'm like, really?
Isn't like lines just kind of part of the experience of being in New York, though?
For sure. So it's like, you like, don't give me any more. So
I was
it's
walking
like,
around the other day. It was like line. I was heading over to her acting school, and I was walking by Chipotle, you know, and I was just like, oh, burrito sounds. There's 150 fucking people in this line.
Yeah, there's lines everywhere.
Like, how can anybody stand in line for a burrito that long? It just,
yeah, it's great. I mean, the food service, they move quickly, which is nice. But like, yeah, I mean, I'll go back home to Virginia, and I'll go into Starbucks, and it's like empty. There's like one person having a coffee. I'm like, what the hell? Starbucks, you can never get a seat.
4 people in line at Starbucks. I'm totally perturbed about it. I'm like, really?
Right.
Do I want a coffee that bad?
Yeah,
I'm looking at any place here while I've been here. I'm like, holy God.
Right, exactly. It's like, it's just nuts. So I think you're like, oh, if I go to the Empire State Building, I'm just going to have to wait in an extra long line. Why would I? I've already been waiting lines all day. I don't want to wait more, you know?
You make a very, very good
I think
point.
That's probably I think that's literally what stops me.
Sightseeing in New York is very different than sightseeing in San Diego.
Yeah, it's just they're so crowded. Like the High Line, it's like everything's like full of people. I don't know. Just too many human beings crammed in a little tiny island in space. So
well, like the island's only what, 5 or 6 miles long.
It's not a big piece of land.
Tiny piece of land.
There's just so many humans. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's just too many humans. That's all.
That sounds like a song.
It
Too
does.
many humans.
As you said it, I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Song lyric.
Too many humans. It's like a evil dictator song. It's like,
I'm sensing a theme song for a movie.
too many humans. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Well, speaking of some song lyrics, would you mind playing as a song?
Sure, I can. Hold on one second. Let me, you want to hold my microphone? All right, cool.
All these hands offering to hold the microphone. And this is a
harp ukulele.
A harp ukulele. We're gonna have to get a picture of you with that.
Ukulele banana.
A ukanana.
Cool. All right. So this is a song that I wrote called Love Rest. How to a soul swimming upstream? Are there angels listening? What am I to do?
I'm still in love with you. If I told the truth, you may be gone. Painfully I'd carry on, buried by the sea. Love, rest in easy peace. He is all I've waited for, a love I cannot leave. Let us be. Fill a special chest fit for our love with memories I'm thinking of. Toss it out to sea. Love, rest in easy peace. I know I must wait here on the beach till it's far beyond my reach, buried by the sea. Love, rest in easy peace.
That was beautiful.
That was
Thank
amazing.
you.
I love the sound of that instrument.
Yeah, it's cool. The bass strings give the ukulele a more deep sound, which is nice. So it's gives it some
That's really cool.
a nicer sound. Oh, thank y'all.
Yeah, you got a beautiful voice.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Just lovely.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
That was
Very
great.
nice. Y'all are very sweet. That
So-
song is on the EP actually. Saints of
Yeah,
Death, so.
I was just, I'm gonna go home and buy that.
Oh no, I'll send it to you.
Oh.
You don't have
Fringe
to buy it.
benefits, man. When did you write that?
I wrote that song in college. Yeah. In college. Well, yeah, it was in college. Yeah, I finished it in college. I was like,
Whitney looks so like flummoxed.
No, there's something, I mean, that's a hauntingly beautiful song, and there's just, I'm going to have to go home and listen to more jazz music because you remind me of somebody like old, like back, singer, standard jazz singer, and it's just not coming, like maybe Doris Day, or it's like on the tip of my brain, not even on the tip of my tongue, it's still in the circuits of my brain.
it's not in the mouth yet.
Yeah. Your soul belongs to another era.
She's gonna pop awake at 3 a.m.
Oh, I know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, people, when that song is not with the rest, because the rest of the album's kind of jazzy, I think, but that one is like, sometimes people, like, if they just hear that song, they don't quite know what genre it is, really. Or they're like, is this folk music or jazz? Or, they're not sure, really, but the rest of it's kind of... But yeah, my voice just kind of sounds jazzy. That's kind of why. That's part of the reason, I think, that it's jazz. If that
You've
makes
just
sense.
got a lot of soul.
Oh, thanks. Oh, y'all are sweet.
Well, that particular instrument isn't necessarily what I would think of for a jazz piece.
Right, yeah, and it's like I'm plucking it in this kind of sparse way that's a little more folky or not quite so.
Well, and
jazz.
the ukulele just kind of like brings to mind Hawaiian music, like
Right.
Dong Ho, and like
Yeah, totally.
that sort of thing. But the way you're playing it is very different,
For sure.
and with the harp addition to it,
Yeah.
it's just got a very cool, unique sound. And it's
Oh,
just,
thank you.
for me, the whole song was hauntingly beautiful,
Oh,
which I thought kind of the light-hearted sound of the instrument, but that kind of deep, soulful sound of your voice combined together was just
thank
very
you.
cool.
Wow, thank you.
Haunting is such a great term for it.
Aw, y'all are sweet. Y'all should write my review. Just kidding. That's very nice
You
of
could
you
do
guys.
that. I do write.
Woo. Yeah.
I write dryly.
You can write a mean one for my next album.
There you go.
I'll be very excited, actually.
There's
No, I really do like bad comments. It's like really because the thing is
there's
that
no
bad
such thing
reviews,
as bad publicity, right?
right?
Like,
And
so-
also, bad reviews are usually much funnier. I found they find funny ways to compare it. They're like hilarious. Same thing with bad like YouTube comments or bad, just bad. Like I always love the
just
negative
internet.
comments. Yeah,
Just call that internet.
because they're so
when
funny.
the internet comments.
I mean, sometimes they're stupid, but most of the time they're actually pretty funny. Like, it's like I usually kind of agree with them. I'm like, yeah.
It's kind of
reviewers are going to listen to this podcast, and you're just going to get trolls coming out of the woodwork.
It's not okay.
We've been saying for almost 3 years now, like, we know we will really have made it when our comment section is just full of hate.
Right. Yeah, no. It's a good thing, actually, to get, like, people saying negative things, because it means that, like, there's enough people listening to it that they feel like it's not going to hurt your feelings, you know?
Yeah.
Or
like you deserve to be taken down a notch.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly. No, it's definitely...
It's true, Whitney. Be ready for it.
No, I know.
That's when we know we will have made it, is when people start saying how much they hate us on the internet.
Yeah. No, for sure. It's true. Yeah.
And I know plenty of people, like, if it's too popular, they can't be a part of it. It's too cool.
Right.
I have a friend that refuses to watch Game of Thrones for this very reason.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, you always hear the classic thing, well, I listened to them back when, you know, before they sold out, before they became this, you know.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah. Your credibility is better because you listened to them before anybody else. Gotcha.
Right.
And now you don't because everybody's listening.
Right.
Okay. So you still can't think for yourself.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
That's what you're saying. Exactly. Yeah. Totally.
It's like, I want to be so unique.
Yeah.
I still let people tell me what I should be thinking.
Totally. I never thought of it that way. That's really funny.
It's so funny. Would it be possible to get one more song?
Yeah, of course.
Play one more thing. Like, I don't want to walk out of here.
You're
without hearing one more
mesmerized
piece.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like,
I was just learning a song
surveying the
before
room.
y'all came. Can I play it? Can I try?
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. I'll play it on
we-
this. You have to excuse me. It won't be perfect because I literally just like.
well, we wouldn't know that. So. Wow.
So, wow, this is like a world premiere.
Well, this
like
is a Jimmy Rogers song. Actually, this is a cover, so it's not my song. But let me see here. I'm gonna mess it up really. Hopefully not.
Just don't tell us we won't know.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see here.
All around the water tank, waiting for the train. 1,000 miles away from home, sleeping in the rain. I walked up to a brakeman to give him a line of talk. He says, if you've got money, I'll see that you don't walk. I haven't got a nickel, not a penny can I show. Get off, you railroad bum. He slammed the boxcar door. He dropped me off in Texas, a state I dearly love. The wide open space is all around me, the moon and stars up above. Nobody seems to want me or lend me a helping hand. I'm on my way from Frisco, I'm going back to Dixieland. Oh, my pocketbook is empty and my heart is full of pain. 1,000 miles away from home, just waiting for the train.
Thank you so much.
Cute. Yeah, I just literally just wrote the chords up for that. So
Oh, it's
thanks for letting me play through it. I'll send it to you guys when I've worked an actual arrangement out for it. So, but I love that song. It's a good song. So
yeah, it's beautiful.
yeah.
Where can people find your music?
Well, they can listen to it for free on Spotify. You can purchase it on iTunes or Bandcamp. Yeah, I mean, I'm on the kind of common music places like SoundCloud. It's just at Gracie Terzian. Facebook is Gracie Terzian Music. Twitter at Gracie Terzian. Instagram at Gracie Terzian. YouTube / Gracie Terzian. Yeah, YouTube and I think YouTube and Facebook and Instagram are usually the 3 I do. I have a mailing list on my website people can join, and if they put their zip code in, then I'll send out when I'm coming to their city as well, so to do a show. So yeah, there's lots of ways to stay connected.
Do you tour around very much? How far away from New York do you go?
Let's see. Well, yeah, I went this past year. I went to Costa Rica. I'm going to Texas on Monday and Arkansas.
What's the venue and times?
I'm playing at Utopia Music Festival, which will be fun. It's in Utopia, Texas. I'm playing in Fayetteville, Arkansas, Bentonville, and then we might be playing in Dallas area, and then San Antonio, Austin. I'm playing at Antone's in Austin, and then Utopia Music Festival in Utopia, Texas. And then I'm going to Scotland later this year to play a show, and then I think Israel as well so far.
Wow.
So yeah, so a few, traveling a bit, so, haven't made it to San Diego yet, or California at all, actually.
You should totally.
I know, I have to book some shows there so that can cover my flights over and whatnot, so. But yeah, let me know if you know.
Maybe we can help you with that.
If you know any places or venues or festivals, yeah, I'd love to.
We know some folks.
Oh yeah,
a few.
Yeah, that'd be really fun.
Cool.
Yeah, so
awesome. Well, thanks for sitting down and chatting with us and playing music for us.
Oh, thanks for inviting me.
I feel like blessed. We had this little private moment.
Private concert.
Here. Oh my god, get out of here. No way.
In the middle of the night in New York City.
I know. It's 1:13 a.m.
And I just want to give some context real quick before we completely wrap this podcast up. Whitney literally flew in today from Missouri.
Oh my God.
To do these series of New York interviews with me for our upcoming super secret project and for the podcast. Unbelievable.
Wow.
Like, you're here Hardcore. Today. We banged out all these interviews. It's midnight, literally. Like, we started this morning. You landed at 9:30 in LaGuardia.
This is true.
Rushed over and met me at Penn Station, and we headed over to Jersey for our first interview, and it's been nonstop ever since. And you're still here. You're still going. We've finished this. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You know what?
She's my new co-host.
Wow.
And she's just amazing. Like...
Aww,
going the extra mile. It's amazing.
It's been really easy. We've had great guests today. Everybody has had wonderful energy, and it's it's contagious, And
there's been lots of coffee.
There's been lots of coffee.
Okay. Well, not really.
Just a little.
No, but you're
everywhere we go. She's like, "Is there coffee here? Is there Starbucks here?"
But that's because you're hardcore. You're like a hustler, and you're like, you work hard. That's great. I mean, that's what it's all about. So.
And then awesome. She flies back tomorrow to go get ready for her wedding.
Oh my gosh. It's like, that's crazy. Wow.
It is crazy. But this has been amazing.
Well, it's been fun for me too.
Yeah. It's been a great day, and I just wanted to thank you on the show.
It's been a great day.
And this was a wonderful way to wrap it up. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you guys. No, well, thank you.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Hello there, citizens. I am the terror that flaps in the night. I am the floaty that will not flush no matter how many times you try in the toilet bowl of crime. I am Darkwing Duck, telling you please, talk hard and enjoy the mindgasm. Whatever the heck that means. After all, you are watching Intellectual Podcast with your ears.